also, I think that this whole discussion of the potential for extraterrestrial life seems to have shifted. I mean, I remember when I was in college, people were, first there was Drake's theorem and the idea that there were all sorts of habitable planets out there. Then it seems to me, as a non-astronomer, then it was kind of, well, we're not really finding anything, forget it. And then all of a sudden, I have this app for my iPhone, Exoplanet, which is supposed to identify and track new discoveries of potential habitable planets. It's sending me push messages all the time. So there are hundreds and hundreds of planets being discovered, even with our limited resources. Are people thinking now that extraterrestrial life is more likely than perhaps we thought a couple decades ago?
Well, certainly, the way you mentioned Drake's equation, where you sort of step through all the properties that you need to get a planet with life. And one of the properties in Drake's equation is how many stars out there have Earth-like planets that are capable of being inhabited. And that number is now a known number. We have measured the number of planets that happen to orbit stars that might be conducive for life. Now, if you extrapolate that to the entire galaxy, you're talking billions of planets. The thing that's changed from back 20 years ago to now is that we have data from star systems telling us that at least planets like ours are not rare, and there are these other types of planets that we never even knew existed. So yeah, I think the thing has changed. The game has changed a little bit. I think most of us in the field feel that we are within a decade of measuring the presence of life on another world.
And just so that our listeners are clear, when you say measuring, you mean that there might be some sort of reading from perhaps radio telescope or something that indicates organic material, not intelligent life.
Right. Well, and what I'm talking about specifically is the fingerprint in the atmosphere of the planet that tells you that life is interacting with the atmosphere of the planet. So yeah, we're talking about finding the evidence of, say, photosynthesis, or evidence of organisms that produce gases in the atmosphere like we do on the Earth. As far as finding intelligent life, that frankly that could happen tomorrow if we point a radio telescope at the right star and get a signal of somebody's old TV programs. We might know that tomorrow.
Right. Well, one of the big discussions that we do have, obviously, the search for SETI and other initiatives, search for extraterrestrial intelligence, listening at least somewhat for broadcasts from outer space, as most science fiction fans know. But one of the big debates used to be, well, why haven't we heard anything? If life is this common, there should be broadcasts floating around or signals, intelligible signals. We've got nothing. And before the field started shifting again, I had the sense people were starting to think, well, maybe that's kind of proof there's nobody out there.
Yeah, I saw a talk by some folks at the SETI Institute in California about this very topic, and if you think about what area of the galaxy we've searched for signals, it's an incredibly small amount. I mean, imagine an enormous plate of spaghetti and this little teeny tiny meatball. The meatball is what we've searched, and I think the prediction that some folks out of SETI gave is that by 2060 we will have, if you just extrapolate our computing power and our telescopes and our ability to observe things, that by 2060 we should have found signals from life on other planets, or we'll be able to put very, very hard limits on how rare they are. So we've got a long ways to go. We've just been looking, we've just thought about looking, had the technology to look for the last 50 years. We've only been seriously looking for the last 30, and now we've only just ramped up some really amazing searches in the last 10. I think it's been we still have a ways to go.
And if you were to be right, and there was a superhabitable planet in Alpha Centauri b, 4 light years away, and there's intelligent life there, they've gotten every single radio and television broadcast up to the year 2009, so I don't blame them for not getting in touch.
Exactly.
So, John Armstrong, Associate Professor at Weber State University, thanks so much. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again sometime. It's a fascinating area and, of course, important for humanity's destiny.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the time.
You bet. All right. Well, we're messing up our own planet. It may be that there are habitable planets elsewhere, but bear in mind, I did a little research, and even if there were a superhabitable planet at the closest star system, Alpha Centauri b, it would take the space shuttle 265,000 years to get there. And I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of time. So if we want to save our planet, there's still no reason to do anything but set the fire alarm, make sure we set our planet. That mission is urgent. This is the 0 Hour, and I'm RJ Eskow, and we'll be back after these messages.